Yesterday we left off, before Ma'ariv, that the minhag is to stay up a whole night on Shavuos. Why? Because the Jews went to sleep before Shavuos. And a brief explanation of that, why did they go to sleep if they were anxiously waiting for Matan Torah to happen? So the answer is because they prepared themselves for 49 days. They elevated themselves to the highest level a person in a body can reach. And they thought the final preparation for Matan Torah would be if they go to sleep. The Neshama should leave the body. That would be the final, so to speak, the final push to receive the Torah. The problem with that was that Matan Torah was to be in the body, in the physical world, not out of it. So there's an inyan that a person should stay up the entire night of Shavuos. This year is Sunday night. There's a paper from the Mittel Rebbe that says that he promises that whoever stays up a whole night Shavuos merits to have the crown of Torah. The crown of Torah. That's the expression of the Mittel Rebbe. So it's a very important custom. Now, some people learn, okay, everybody learns. You're not supposed to sleep, you're not supposed to stop and talk. But there's a minhag to say Tikkun Lo Shavuos. Now, Tikkun Lo Shavuos basically they say it was composed by the Shalach Kaddish. It's basically the beginning and end of every parsha, the beginning and end of every novi, and ksuvim, and the beginning and end of every tractate of Mishnayos. So the whole book. I mean, it's a thick book. It takes a few hours to say. And then at the end, you have the Sefer, the 613 mitzvahs. So it's a custom that many, especially in the Chassidish world, they actually sit and say Tikkun Lo Shavuos. Some people, I said, say both nights, but one night is enough today. One night is enough, you say Tikkun Lo Shavuos, you're up a whole night. Other people learn, everybody does different things. The main thing is that people should be up. Now, there's also a minhag that right before dawn, you go to the mikveh in the morning, and that is to receive the Torah in ultimate purity. And then, so some people have a minhag that they daven early. We have here 10 to 5 million in the morning to daven shachris, right before you go to sleep. And other people go home, they sleep a little bit, and then they, what?
4:50?
Yeah. 4:50 is 10 to 5. The last time I checked. So then other people come back to the regular minyan. But now there's a big halacha question. If you're up a whole night, do you wash netila in the morning? Do you make a bracha? Do you say brachas? Don't you say brachas? Because officially, the brachas are for a new day beginning. But if you're up the whole time, there's a lot of different opinions in halacha, what you say, what you don't say. Our custom is, as the previous Rebbe said, it's not public, but it's private, but everybody does it. And that is, we say all the brachas. We wash until Yadayim, we say al netil Yadayim, we say Ashayotza, al kain neshama, all the brachas, we say it all. Some people don't. Some people like to hear it from somebody who slept a half an hour, so they obligated to say brachas, so they'll like to hear it from them. So there's different customs. But our custom is that early in the morning we say all of the brachas, everything from A to Z. It's also very important that by davening the first day, the Rebbe spoke about this many times, that kids should be brought to listen, every Jew, man, woman, and child, even from the time they're born, should come to shul to listen to Raser Sedibris. Why? Because the Medrash says, when Hashem was about to give the Torah, he asked for a guarantor. So I'm giving you this precious gift. Who's going to guarantee me that you're going to, learn it and keep it? So the Medrash says, he said, our parents, rabbis, Hashem didn't accept any of them. Until they said, B'neinu erev ba'deinu, our children will be the guarantors for the Torah. Hashem accepted that as a guarantor. So therefore, it says until them from the mouth of babes in young age, you found the strength. You found the strength of Torah, and therefore everybody should come to listen to Aser Sedibris. So in a lot of shows we have an early minyan, then we have a 9:30 minyan, then 4 o'clock will be another Haser Sedibris reading with an ice cream party, all ice cream that you can eat, for adults, for kids, for whatever. We always have a very Baruch Hashem, a lot of people come for, believe it or not, 4 o'clock in the afternoon. A lot of people, kids that go to public school, that after school they come, parents, a lot of people, Baruch Hashem, come, and you have to encourage the neighbor. What?
This year school's already out.
Oh, school's out already. So they'll come anyway. So they won't come after school, they'll come instead of school. But the bottom line is like this. So now there's a very interesting custom on the first day of Shavuot that some people have an interesting custom. Some people say that this custom is against halacha, but let me say the way it is. There is a custom on the first day of Shavuot to eat dairy. Why? Because there's a lot of reasons. Torah is likened to milk, zavas chalav dvash. Torah is the chalav, the word chalav, ches lamed beis, equals 40, which is the 40 days Torah was given. There's a lot of reasons why we eat dairy on the first day of first day of Shavuot. The Rebbe gave a very beautiful reason for that at a Fabrengen, and he said that when the Jews got the Torah, the Gemara says, all the opinions say Torah was given on Shabbos. There's only an argument between Rabbi Yosef and the Chachamim, was Shabbos the 6th of Sivan or the 7th of Sivan. But everybody says Torah was given on Shabbos. Everybody holds that. And now the din is like this. There's a big machlekes in halacha. What law did the Jews have before Matan Torah? Did they have a din of Goyim or did they have a din of Jews? But everybody agrees that even if they had a din of Jews, they didn't have the same din of a Jew after Matan Torah. In fact, the Gemara says, and we learn out a lot of halachos of conversion from there, the Gemara says Matan Torah was the mass conversion of the Jews. Because when did the Jews actually become Yidden, in the full term of the word, was by Matan Torah. So now the question is like this. Torah was given on Shabbos. Says again, in Machlekes, did they keep kosher before? Didn't they keep kosher before? There's a big argument. So even if they did keep kosher, okay, so they did shchita, yeah? Let's say they did shchita. But the problem is, if they shechted before Shavuos, that shchita, they didn't have a din of a full Jew. So that shchita wouldn't be kosher for after Matan Torah. It couldn't be kosher because they didn't have a din of a full-fledged Jew. Now, when Hashem gave the Torah, it was Shabbos. So Yom Tiv, you're allowed to shecht, because Yom Tiv, you could do malacha for food, right? But Shabbos, you can't. So now the Jews, they have Shabbos morning, Hashem gives them the Torah, and they're stuck, so to speak. What are they going to eat? Meat they can't eat, because yesterday's shechita wasn't good for today, for today's level. Shabbos, they can't shecht. So what did they eat? They ate milchiks. They ate dairy. The Rebbe says that was one of the reasons, but that was one of the reasons why there's a minhag to eat milchik. What?
Where did they get the milk from? They had to milk the cow, also was forbidden Shabbat.
Milking the cow was rabbinically forbidden, those things they didn't have yet.
No, the milk from before they could have used.
No, then it's not Chol Yisrael. But that, by the way, no, it's a very good point to make. But non-Chol Yisrael is rabbinic. The whole Chol Yisrael is rabbinic. They didn't have those things yet. What?
What are they eating, man?
They had man, but they wanted to eat for Shabbos. They made their own foods also besides the man.
The slav also.
They had the slav, but that was later. Anyway, so that's the reason why we eat milchiks. So now the question, it says in Shulchan Aruch like this. Even though there's a custom to eat dairy, but on Yom Tiv there's an obligation to eat meat. It says, "V'samachta b'chagecha," and the Gemara says, "Ain't simcha ela b'basar." And b'yayin, there's only simcha with meat. And according to many opinions, by the way, eating meat on Yom Tiv is biblical, a biblical obligation. According to many, it's a machlekes in halacha. But many people say it's even biblical that you have to eat meat on Yom Tiv. So now the question, if you're having dairy, so how do you have a meat meal? Okay? So the halacha says what you do is you eat milk, dairy meal, like cheesecake, let's say. So you make kiddush after davening, you eat cheesecake or blintzah, whatever else you want to eat. You make a bracha achreina. According to most poskim, you must make a after bracha or bench, and you wait an hour. It's our custom is to wait an hour. Other people wait a half an hour. Based on the Zohar, our custom is to wait an hour, and then you eat your dairy meal. I'm sorry. Then you eat your meat meal. It could be later on in the afternoon also. You don't have to have 3 meals.
Friday, let's say at night you have the meat, and in the morning.
Yeah, but every meal is supposed to have. That's what I'm saying. So there are people. It's brought on halacha had a minig that at night they ate dairy, and the next day they ate meat. And other poskim scream no. The Alter Rebbe clearly says you can't do that because all the meals have to have meat. So you have to have. So by the custom is, let's say most people, you have a meat meal. First day Rosh Hashanah you have milchiks, and then you have fleishiks. The same, Shavuos. For Shavuos you have eat dairy, and then you have the meat. You wait an hour, and then you have your meat meal.
The meat doesn't need to be a meal, or you just have a pisai that you later.
Technically, you can just have a piece. If you washed already by the dairy meal, all you have to do is eat meat. You're right. You don't have to have a meal again with meat. You can just eat meat. You can take some dairy at the deli. Huh? No, you can't have both at the same meal. That's for sure not. And then you go into a lot of other interesting dinim that we're not going to get to too much tonight. But many people, let's say they have a meat oven and they want to know if they can kosher it for dairy to make cheesecake in it. Not everybody has 2 ovens. Okay, and people are careful, you don't use the same oven for both. So the question is, can I kasher, and can you, generally speaking, can you kasher from meat to milk or not? Or from milk to meat? From treif to kosher you can kasher. What happens is I have a meat utensil. And now I want to make a dairy. I don't need it for meat anymore. I want to make a dairy. So it's interesting, the Sfardim are lenient. They didn't, because the Sfardish poskim write clearly, they never accepted the chumrah of the Magen Avram. The Magen Avram brings down in Hilchos Yom Tiv that that you don't kasher from meat to milk or milk to meat. The Alter Rebbe, interesting, does not bring down that din at all. So the question is, does he hold of it or not? But the bottom line is, the minhag ha'olam is that you don't kosher from meat to milk or milk to meat. But there's like a bunch of ways that you can do it. But we'll get there. Tomorrow night will be more time to talk about it. So anyway, but if somebody has a meat oven, they want to make it dairy, so then halachically you could, if the oven's clean, there's no meat all over the place, and you turn on the oven to the highest for an hour, which is broiled, let's say 550, so halachically you'd be able to bake a cheesecake in it. And then you can turn it back on to get it back to meat if you want.
550 for
an hour. I mean, you probably can use half, but the best thing would be an hour. Somebody has to, half an hour would be enough. Because it's meat and milk is what's called hatera bala, but again, it's too late to get into that. Now, meat, when an oven is dairy, right, it never absorbed anything treif in it. It's not a treif oven, right? It's dairy. Dairy is kosher. Meat is kosher. So you're not removing something forbidden, you're just getting rid of something permissible. So halachically in Hilchos Pesach and Yoreh De'ah, there's a din that it's much easier to kosher that way.